You know, there are times where you don't have anything to say, but you just want to make a video. I imagine that's much like times where you want to take a shit, but you don't have much to say. And why would you? I mean, I talk to myself sometimes, but rarely when I take a shit. Or maybe a little bit, but much more so in the shower. But is that important, that internal dialogue that we, almost all of us, are conscious of? They say that goes on not only verbally, but using other sensations and images and feelings and so forth. Well, I've been thinking about consciousness for a long time, and it occurs to me that it's a weird-ass thing. I mean, yeah, it's hard to explain. A lot of people have tried. How the hell do you take matter and energy and all of a sudden have this thing called consciousness? So I really don't know. But what I think, Douglas Hofstadter kind of talks about feedback loops, and I do agree with that consciousness probably involves some kind of feedback loop where we're looking at ourselves and feeding that information back. One of the analogies that he uses is a video camera pointing at a mirror, and you can see all these iterative images. Another version that I came up with when I was reading the book Gödel, Escher, Bach, The Eternal Golden Braid, which is a fabulous book, is the one where you take a microphone and you put it closer to a speaker, and there comes a time where there is no real noise, and then all of a sudden you get this high-pitched 60-second hum, and this is a result of there being a feedback loop, and it goes from nothing to this hum, and it seems like consciousness would be something of that nature, but far more complicated, of course. The real issue is how do you make that leap? And I know, Roger Penrose has tried that with his microtubules and stuff, but it seems like we're a little bit too primitive right now to figure it out. Or maybe not. Maybe just no one's come up with this brilliant idea. But one of the things that I've thought about a lot is that what we are as conscious beings is essentially a watcher, but not a doer. I get this from a lot of different pieces of evidence, and maybe it's a particular prejudice on my part after rejecting the notion of free will, either from a deterministic or a probabilistic standpoint at a relatively early age. But there's a thing called confabulation that has really got me thinking about that, and other stuff. But what I believe is that we, the part of us that's conscious, just watches, doesn't do. Essentially, what we're looking at is we're looking at ourselves, at our environment and ourselves in it, and that information gets fed back. And then we have this process of identification with the process so that we believe that we're actually doing something. Now, there's some kind of semantics here, too, because you can say, well, isn't our whole brain and mind and all that us? And you can kind of go that way and make a good counter-argument. But my thinking is that the conscious part, the part we think of as us, is the part that watches. And then we believe we're more, and we identify with that watching. And the purpose of the watching, evolution figured out a way to refine behavior, to make it more adaptive, to increase reproductive success, and that's the idea. But let's now talk about the confabulation idea. This occurs in a number of circumstances, not just under hypnosis, but what you can do is you can give somebody under hypnosis a post-hypnotic suggestion. And you can say, when I snap my fingers, you'll stamp your foot 3 times. And you can do that, and then you can ask them a question, why did you stamp your foot 3 times? And invariably, people come up with answers that are just really not too in touch with reality, but more in touch with the fact that they did something, and now they must explain it. And that person will say, there was a rock in my shoe. And then you'll say, well, where's the rock? Show it to me. And then they'll say, well, the rock jumped out when I stamped my foot. You say, well, look at the floor. See if you can find it. And then they'll say, well, I stamped on the rock. Now it's in little pieces. And you say, well, can you find those pieces? And they go, no, they moved all around the room because when I stamped them, there was wind from my shoe and that kind of stuff. But this confabulation stuff occurs in a variety of circumstances. In split brain operations where one part of the brain is given certain information, another part doesn't have it, and it'll come up with these explanations. And to someone watching, they seem very bizarre, contrived. And yet we all can be shown to do this. And I think that this is part of a mechanism we have, which, without belaboring it too much, is my notion of being watchers and not doers. That essentially that's what we are. Now that's kind of a bold thing to say, and you can really make a lot of arguments in another way. So I'm not really trying to go into a lot of detail on that, just giving you a little bit of the flavor of it, because it's a pain in the ass to do it. And I'm just saying that it seems that confabulation is a result of the fact that we're constantly believing that we're doing things when we're not. In other words, when someone stamps their foot, they aren't the agent of that action. And even when someone makes a decision, I believe that they don't actually make that decision. They just identify with the process. And there have been some interesting scientific experiments that show that decisions are made prior to the time we believe we came to them. In other words, in the brain there's a signal, okay, you're going to move your right hand and grab this, and then a series of microseconds, sometimes a couple seconds later, you decide that that's what you're going to do. And of course you can say, as I said before, that is, it's all me. Yeah, you can do that, but it seems to me, the one that's observing here, I'm watching myself make a video right now, is that a more complete explanation would be that we have this process where we are constantly identifying with the fact that all these things we're observing must be done by us, where us is the part of us that's looking, and that looking must be doing too, and I don't think we do. Okay, well that's enough of that. I hope you enjoy this crazy medley into things I think about when I don't know what I'm going to be talking about while making a video. See ya.